Get a goal from Tyler Bertuzzi in the third period, but it's not enough. We will wrap up another incomplete effort by Chicago on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. Coming at you live this Sunnyside Thursday, this is the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. Hawks lose 3-1 to the Dallas Stars in Dallas, and once again, a 20-minute effort in a 60-minute game. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. We're going to break down the whole thing. Nate's here running the show. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, thank you. We appreciate you. Make sure you are following or subscribed on your favorite app, and please take a few minutes to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Fellas, I feel like we could pretty much copy and paste several shows. We could actually just probably copy and paste the last Dallas game.
I would say, why don't we just play that?
It's almost identical. It's almost identical.
We probably used the same graphic for that show, too. We could have played that episode, and I don't think anybody would have noticed anything different because it was a carbon copy of that game. Outplayed in the first 2 periods. And the Blackhawks have their built-in excuses. Second half of a back-to-back. Stars haven't played in 5 days. They're fresh. But energy didn't seem to be a problem in the third period. They were just getting housed those first 2 periods. Arvid Soderblom. On the plus side, if this was last year's Arvid Soderblom, this would have been a 7-0 game going
Absolutely.
into the third period.
Right,
so, it just... This team goes through stretches where they just become a dumb hockey team.
Yeah.
Where they have no vision on the ice. They can't clear the zone. They don't put the puck in the smart areas. Even when they just flip the puck 3 feet in front of them and hope there's somebody there to help them out. Again and again and again and again. And it's like, if this was a young team, you could say, okay, they're learning to play the game. But this is a team full of guys who've got hundreds of games of experience. Make the simple plays. Get the puck out of the zone. Connor Murphy and Alex Vlasic had almost a 3-minute shift.
Yes, with no help from their forwards.
Because they could not just chip the puck, use the boards, do whatever you got to do. Clear the zone. It's not that difficult. The Stars had no problem clearing the zone all night. The Red Wings had no problem clearing the zone last night.
Yeah.
Like, why are the zone clears so effing hard for stretches of time with this team?
Well, and there's a couple people in the chat saying, like, look, Dallas is really good, and we all expected the Hawks to lose. And I think if we did predictions, we all probably would have picked the Hawks to lose this game, and we might have said 3-1. That is a perfectly reasonable outcome in this game. However, 5 shots 30 minutes into the game is unacceptable. I don't care. You're in the NHL. You're a pro team with somewhat expectations to be competitive every night. And once again, a good third period, a tough battle back, an almost tying goal gives us, recency bias and saying like, oh boy, good effort, fellas. No, the effort tonight sucked. They happened to find it for 20 minutes, and that's what pisses me off more than anything, is you play like absolute ass for 40 minutes, like you've never played hockey before, running back and forth, overskating, turning the puck over. You can't clear. You can't complete a pass. Then all of a sudden, You wake up and find it for the last 20. Why does that keep happening? And why can't it happen for 60? This is what I don't understand. And yes, I know score effects are a thing and teams play differently when they're down a goal. But if they've got the ability to turn on the Jets and get that attacking mindset going for a period, why can't they at least get 40%, 50%, 60% of that for the other two periods? It is maddening. It's one thing to just get your ass kicked by a better team. It's another thing to not compete for 40 minutes, then all of a sudden find it. That is what annoys me.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again. And then you get the up and down power play too. There are times the power play is awful, like last night in the first power play, and then all of a sudden it clicks, and there's Tyler Bertuzzi all alone in front of the net, and Bedard makes a great pass right on his stick to get the goal. And it's like, you see what this team is capable of doing. You see that they can put together long stretches of playing well. Maybe you just have to go Sunday night. We'll all be there for the takeover. Maybe you slip a 20 to the scoreboard guy in the box and you say, put down. It's 2-0 Wild third period at the opening faceoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
While wearing the white jerseys at home.
Well, that would solve it.
And then you'll win 6-0.
Yep.
Yeah, I am getting increasingly frustrated that this veteran of a team, and we said it last night, like, yeah, there are still some young guys on this team. There's one true rookie in Nolan Allen.
Mm-hmm. Who's played every game and played well, by the way.
Yeah, he's been completely fine.
Yep.
And there are some young guys, but for the most part, the young guys, Connor Bedard is not someone you should have to worry too much about because, yeah, he's still kind of learning things in the NHL, but he has a high enough skill level that you figure he'll figure it out quickly. His IQ for the game is at that kind of level. Wyatt Kaiser is another guy who's young and doesn't have a ton of experience, but he's been one of the better defensemen of the group this season. Other than that, you got your youngest guys, Kurashev and Reichel, like they've played over 100 games. Alex Vlasic's played well over 100 games, and then beyond that, it's all veterans. So I'm getting increasingly upset now that we're 15 games into the season, with how few games start with the urgency that we see consume this team for the final half of a game or the final period of a game. Like the one game that they really came out, had that urgency and benefited from it was the Ducks game, or twice, the Ducks and the Sharks. Woohoo! Like those are teams that you should beat, even if you only put in a 30-minute effort. Those are teams that you should be able to beat.
Yeah. They scored down 11-3 in shots in the first period. At some point in time.
Yeah. So, you have to have those efforts every night, and I'm getting increasingly frustrated that this veteran team, and Nick Foligno talked about it last night about kind of learning lessons about momentum and how you have to play the game to have success. I'm starting to lose patience with the failure of this team to understand how they have to play, and the intensity in which they have to play to find success. Like they're not good enough to half-ass it. They're not good enough to take shifts, periods off. If they want to play with some pride and find an identity, it's clear as day to me the kind of identity they need to play, the way they need to play to have success.
Third period tonight,
and we've seen it maybe a third of the time this year. it's getting increasingly frustrating with this team. And I'll give them the qualifiers that, 2/3 of the NHL is more talented roster for roster, but you can a lot of lesser talented teams have found more success by just playing within an identity and a system that is effective.
Well, that's a really good point. Let's put a pin in that because we want to do the 4-star of the game. The 3 stars, Jake Ottinger stopped 25 of 26 Blackhawks shots. Jamie Benn with an assist. And Sam Steele, your number 1 star, with a goal and an assist for the Stars. So here are your 4 nominees for the 4-star of the game. Arvid Soderblom stopped 37 of 39 shots. Soderblom stopped 37 of 39 shots. Arvid stopped 37 of 39 shots. And Sodi stopped 37 of 39 Dallas shots. So get your votes in, and we'll reveal the winner at the end of the game. Your point is correct. And you talk about playing a simple game. Watch the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
There is nothing complex about what they're doing. They are crowding the net. Anytime there's an opportunity to get the puck on, they do it. Every single time. There's no hesitation. There's no extra pass. If there is a lane, they're taking it. If there's a goalie to stand in front of, they're standing in front of it. So I wrote these down because I want, next time we have PD on, I want him to actually to compare these two things for us. So when the Hawks take a penalty, the Stars pull the goalie and head into the Blackhawk zone. They have in front of Soderblom 1, 2, 3 forwards in a line about 5 feet from each other, all standing in a straight line. And then the other 3 forwards there's 2 on the point and then there's another one down low, trying to just get a screen and get a shot through. That's the mindset, is attack. Then later in the period, the Hawks have a shift with Bedard, Reichel, and Hall, where they're in the offensive zone, and they're on the boards, and they're spinning, and they're cycling, and they're passing, and they're passing, and they're backhanding. The middle of the ice is completely void of a Blackhawks player. There's a Dallas Stars defenseman standing in front of Jake Ottinger like, so, man, what do you got going on later? Sure enough, the Hawks turn the puck over, and nothing comes of it. They held the puck in the zone for a good 30 seconds of cycle, pass back and forth, back to the point, back to the boards, back to the point, spinorama, pass to no one, pucks off the other way. It is so aggravating and the perfect example of how to succeed in the NHL. Take the talent away from it. If the Hawks played the style of hockey that Dallas plays, they'd have at least 3 or 4 more wins this year. Dallas keeps it so simple. Yes, they've got elite talent. There's no doubt about it. But Dallas is absolutely getting every ounce of talent out of every player they have. Part of it's coaching, part of it's GMing, all that stuff. It's why Pete DeBoer likes to hang out with us so much. It's like they're squeezing every bit of Jamie Benn. They're squeezing every bit of what Tyler Seguin has left. And now they've got Stankoven, and they've got Bork, and they've got all these young players. And they got Miro Heiskanen, who's a badass, who is like stopping a full-speed Jason Dickinson in his tracks. The team is great, but the system is so simple. It is so simple, and it works, and they get results. When they break down the film of this game, Luke Richardson should just hit play and say, watch the green team, and put his feet up on the table. That's it. Yeah. Like, that is all it has to be. We have talked about it for, what game is this, 14? 15. We've talked about this for 15 games now. 15 games. Ugh.
Yeah. The Stars are the example of when you have the simple things down, then the more complexities can come out of your game. Are the Stars the Globetrotters on ice? No, but they play an effective, simple style that allows for, really skillful plays to come out, cross crease passes, backdoor plays, things like that. So it's in the blueprint of trying to build a team for the long haul. They're also the team that the Blackhawks should be following for the blueprint of how to play the game and be effective in it.
100%. All right, we have to hit the break zone. We're going to get to your super chats here. Come up in a moment. We're going to reveal the Who's Your Hawk winner later on in the show. We will monitor to see if we get any post-game video sent from the Blackhawks. If not, we'll see anyone that's there. It didn't seem like there were a lot of reporters there.
I don't think anybody from the Hawks beat went down.
Cool. Well, we'll do our best to relay any news we get from Dallas. But first,
Hey, did you watch the game tonight? Well, you did it by watching the Chicago Sports Network. CHSN, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox. CHSN is broadcasting more than 300 live games per year across the Bulls, Blackhawks, and White Sox, and is featuring a full lineup of original Chicago-focused content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago, across Chicago's 77 neighborhoods and beyond Chicago. At CHSN, Chicago comes first because they're so Chicago. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Chicago Bulls, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Chicago White Sox all season long in Chicago.
And if you've been watching the Blackhawks for 15 games, you may be interested in starting your cannabis journey. And you could do that with our friends at Sunnyside. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where noobs, a place where experts are going to have an equal amount of a great experience because they've got everything you need to elevate your life. They have 100 strains to choose from, easy online ordering and in-store pickup. They're Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in Wrigleyville and River North, Champaign, South Beloit, and more. If you're just getting started, the folks at Sunnyside will make you feel comfortable. They'll make you feel educated, and you will walk out of Sunnyside with a curated experience for yourself. I recommend my two favorite brands, Good News and Mindy's. Those Good News gummies, I take them every night. The Counting Sheep, they help me go to sleep. I take a half or a third, depending on how tired I am. Boom. Sleep through the night. And available now for a limited time is their Island Vibes. That's available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases.
50.
Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. Let's knock out a couple of the super chats we've got. So we got a $2 super chat from Deadhawk. Said we had 26 shots on goal and 22 block shots. Yikes. Yes, that's you almost blocked as many as you shot. Not great. Broggy says, feels like the team is actively not listening to Luke. A lot of people saying that. Emerit says, Hawks are good in spurts, but without a good goalie performance, we have no shot. Looks a lot like last season. How long does Kyle give Luke?
He's not going anywhere.
Well, that seems like, he answered that question. Again, I direct you to Ben Pope's interview that he had with him over last weekend. It's not on the table.
No, he's going to get the full season. And here's I was having a chat in our Discord, Die Hard Discord today about this, and the big picture stuff with Luke Richardson is good. It's, Connor Bedard, he's struggling to score goals and be aggressive to shoot, but his overall game has improved. The back checking. He was credited with 3 hits tonight, which helped put me over the top.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Thank you for those 3 hits tonight, Connor Bedard. But you see him back checking. You see him being more engaged without the puck, which is good. You needed him to take those strides. Alex Vlasic is a stud. Wyatt Kaiser has made
been so good.
Ridiculous strides. Arvid Soderblom has rebounded from a disastrous season where we were wondering if he was even going to be in North America this year. And here he is. He's your best goalie on this team right now. Yeah. And Lucas Reichel is playing the most consistent hockey of his NHL career. Those are all good big picture things. Yep. To me, those are all more important than if Ilya Mikheyev or Taylor Hall starts the game on time. Because those 2 guys aren't going to be here when this team is contending. So, yes, it is frustrating, but keep your eyes on the big picture. I know there's a lot of complaints about the roster. And there are. This is a flawed roster, but this is not the team that's being put together. The guys that matter, the goals and the speed are going to come from the guys playing in Rockford this season. Excuse me. These guys that were brought in, for the most part, are placeholders for those guys. That's why Dickinson got 2 years and Foligno got 2 years. You probably had to give Bertuzzi that 3rd year. Just because you wanted to get him,
you're in a spot where you need to pay guys again.
Yeah, everybody.
Give him term.
You gave Tavo and Bertuzzi an extra year because you had to get him to come here. But they're placeholders.
And by the way, they're doing okay. I mean,
Bertuzzi's been excellent.
Yeah.
So there are things that are frustrated game to game. And in the course of an 82-game season, there is a roller coaster, and I'm just not going to go on that roller coaster every game for my own sanity and mental health. I try to keep focusing on the big picture. And yes, there are game to game big problems with this team. Are they all on Luke Richardson? No. Are some of these issues probably Luke Richardson can do something about? Sure. The bottom line is these guys need to play. These are veterans that are making a lot of money to play hockey. Go play hockey. You tell us after every game, we know what we got to do. We just got to do it. Okay, then.
Yeah, do it.
Then take ownership and do it. So just this season, I know there are raised expectations, and the Hawks are pretty much playing to their expectations, which coming off a 52-point season is better. But you have to keep your eyes on the big picture. This is about the rebuild. This season was never about making the playoffs or making a statement. Like, this roster is not the roster that's going to be here when this team is in the playoffs again. Those guys are in Rockford. Those guys are at North Dakota and Minnesota and in the OHL. Like, you got to give it time. And as Dom says, is permanent damage being done to Bedard? No, there is no. Like, he is.
And by the way, he's a guy that needs to be better too.
Yes,
frankly.
absolutely. He needs to shoot more. And he's getting into his own head at times, but it's not causing long-term damage. The Blackhawks didn't win. They didn't go to playoffs in Patrick Kane's rookie year. Did it destroy his career?
No.
And just
Almost did.
Just I think it was Seahawk way earlier in the chat said something about the whole 60-minute game is a myth because in the dynasty they could play 40 minutes and it was very common. That team had
that's
8
different.
Hall of Famers
Yeah,
on it.
that's different.
That team could.
Because the 40 minutes that they turned it on, they outscored teams 6-2.
40 minutes.
Yeah, they would just challenge themselves like, how far can we get down before
40
we come
minutes
back?
is being
to this one?
generous.
Yeah.
That was a team that mailed it in for about 53 minutes on some nights and still won by 2 goals because they could. This team can't do that.
The other thing too is, and I get the frustration, and it's very clear the three of us are frustrated after this one, but the most realistic answer is, will you call somebody up from Rockford? To do what? So you're going to call up Frank Nazar, and maybe he's fine, maybe he struggles a little bit, but it doesn't do him any good in the long term. It doesn't do the rebuild any good in the long term. And if you're concerned about having guys around a losing culture and getting used to losing, why are you going to take Frank Nazar from Rockford and bring him here into a losing situation where he'll get used to losing and in a losing situation?
You have a full,
You can't be both ways.
you have a full roster. You have 14 forwards, which is an extra forward more than most teams carry. You have your extra defensemen. Like, you have the full 23 guys. These are the 23 guys you got to figure it out with at this moment. And it's, in the course of a long season, injuries do happen and things like that, but there's no reason to make a call up to try and change anything, because like you said, there's no one down there that is an instant spark plug game changer. Even with Frank Nazar playing well, I don't see that
it doesn't change the dynamic of the team.
No, it doesn't.
No. By the way, Seahawk clarified and said that what he meant was there's no team really plays a 60-minute game. Sure, but you want to be closer to 60 than to 20 or 10 or 5.
Yeah, you're not going to play the way you played in the third period of the Sharks game every period. That's impossible. But playing a 60-minute game to me means you play within your structure the entire night. Mm-hmm. You don't take periods off of that and just start skating around with your, with blinders on.
You're competitive for the majority of it.
Yeah.
And it looks cohesive.
And we've said it before. You can be outplayed and be outshot 11-6 in a period and still consider it a good period. Sometimes teams just have their will and they're better than you, but then you have periods like the first period tonight where it's 16-5 and there was no structure at any point there. You can, as I said, you've got new lines. You've got Joey Anderson that hasn't been hasn't played in 3 weeks. So, and as the game went on, it obviously got better. So, just, and the thing about the guys in Rockford, calling one of those guys up, the reason all those guys are playing in Rockford together is so they can build all these good habits and win some games and get that mindset of got to start from the beginning of the game, got to give it a full effort, get those habits together. So when you come up together, it's just boom, it's right there. You don't have to relearn it when you get here. And if that's not happening here, you're the guys that start leading by example.
By the way, Luke Richard, go ahead.
I was going to say, it builds chemistry too. So you're not 15 games into the season saying, well, these guys got to figure out how they play together, because that's where we're at right now. They're still figuring out how to play together. And the hope is that in a season or two, when a handful of these guys from Rockford come up and then another group comes up, if more than half of your roster is made up of guys that have already played 2 and 3 professional seasons together and they've had success, then you're like, well, they know how to where each other is going to be. They know how to play off of each other. Now they just got to do it at the NHL level. It should look more like a unified group. Yeah.
Luke Richardson is on a 4-year contract. This is his 3rd year. The 4th year is a club option. So if they decide at the end of the year that Luke Richardson is not their guy, they don't have to fire him. They just say, we're not going to pick up your option and we'll hire somebody else. They've shown as a leadership group, Jamie Faulkner and Danny Wirtz, for whatever you think of them, they're willing to make difficult choices and difficult moves. They let Jonathan Taves walk away. They traded Patrick Kane. They tried Chris Voster as an experiment. It didn't work. He's gone. Colby Cohen was an experiment. That didn't work. He's gone. They're very happy to try things and say, okay, didn't work out the way we thought. On to the next thing. We got to get better. So hot seat, no. Evaluated this year, 100%. And when I wrote my thing going into the year, what are the top storylines for this season? Luke Richardson as the head coach was one of them. Luke's doing nothing that's fireable right now. He is not, we go through this every game. He's not the one telling them to play along the walls. He's not the one telling them to win. Hold on. 29% of their faceoffs tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
29. They won 16 and lost 40 in the faceoff dot today.
That's Jamie Benn went 16-0 in the faceoff dot.
He did. I thought Bedard beat him once.
Apparently, well, the score,
they
home
changed
score.
It. All right, it's home scoring.
Yeah,
that skews it, but still, he's not. He has said time after time after time, game after game after game, we tell these guys they've got to shoot. And if you think the players are tuning out the coach on a message that simple, direct your anger to the effing players, not the coach, because it is so simple. It is so simple.
I get the coach angst. I understand it. But I never understood the players aren't listening to the coach, so get rid of the coach. Isn't that the players' fault for not listening to the coach? But it's obviously easier to fire the coach than the whole team, sure. But these guys need to start getting aggressive. We saw Bedard. I know it was the end of a shift, but they had that 2-on-1. Was that the first period or maybe the second period? Second period. They were out there forever because they were hemmed in their zone. They get a turnover, and then it's Hall and Bedard on a 2-on-1. Both have been on the ice for over a minute, but Bedard slows down to pass the puck over to Taylor Hall.
Who's at a bad angle and has a defender in front of him.
Was it Reichel that had that one in the third period where it was just like,
one in the first two where he's got a clean look. Kurashev had one where he had a clean look and then skated up to a foot away from Andre's boop, here you go.
Here, let me
put it right
you might as well just pick it up off the ice and put it in his glove.
Let me just calmly put this right into your glove for you, sir. Those are the moments where they're thinking too much. This is the problem with these guys on the ice. They're thinking too much. They're overthinking everything where it needs to be instinctual. And a thinking hockey player is a slow hockey player. When you're thinking about a play, guess what? It's already over. It's going back.
You're done.
You're thinking, what should I do here? Nope, now I got to turn around and go to back check because the puck is gone. Instincts. You got to play with your instincts. Just, you see a shooting lane, take it. Take it.
Pat Maroon must think a lot when he's on the ice.
He's the thinking man's hockey player.
All right, we got a couple more super chats to knock out when we come back from this quick timeout on CHGO Blackhawks. The read is game time.
All right, I know. My stupid thing went away. Hey, do you like going to live events?
Yes, most of the time.
Do you like going to sporting events and concerts and comedy and
So long as they're live.
and live. You don't want to. If this was a TV ad read, we would have done it.
And
in the first break.
inexpensive.
Yes, Game Time. They are your friends. They will help you get tickets to anything you want that's live, not dead. They have this new feature called Game Time Picks. Maybe you've heard of it. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Speaking of great deals, they've got a promo going now for tickets at the Wrigley Field for the NHL Winter Classic New Year's Eve Blackhawks Blues. Now until December 2nd, you can get $10 off on bleacher seats and up to 25% off tickets in the home plate area. That's at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the app, create an account, use the code CHGO, and they're going to give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Game time.
/biz.
And Coors Light is the presenting sponsor of Wish Fest, Chicago's concert for a cause. Wish Fest is back at the Salt Shed this Saturday, November 9th. It's a one-night indoor music festival uplifting families battling cancer across Chicago and the Midwest, featuring a unique lineup of music and an atmosphere unlike any other, with crowd favorites OAR, Grammy-nominated superstar Mike Posner, indie folk sensation Will Dorado, and folk pop up-and-comer Hans Williams. A big party for only $150. It's an all-inclusive experience with a 6+ hour all-you-can-drink. That's not good. Food vendors, a truly special atmosphere with all-night music, and every dollar benefiting an amazing cause. All WishFest proceeds benefit Wish Forever's mission of uplifting families battling cancer, helping bring support to more than 600 families facing cancer, with financial gifts totaling over $3 million. Go to wishfest.com/tickets to get your tickets. That's WEISHfest.com/tickets. I got a super chat there, I believe, from
that Lift Fest. Everybody needs to take a lift home.
Yes,
From
take
there.
a lift home from Wish.
By the way, you gave me an idea, a marketing idea for during the Sunnyside read. Mm-hmm. I've got the perfect new dispensary for first-time cannabis users.
Okay.
Doobs for noobs.
I love it. That's good. That's almost as good as our Blue Chew idea.
Right. We got to save that for when they're out.
I sent it to sales, and he said, like, I'm serious. Okay. So Corey with the $5 super chat says, I know the main reason they traded for McCabe was to get Vancouver's second-round pick, but I expected more than a complete zero offensively from him. Yeah, he is struggling to put the puck in the net. He's doing everything else right. He's really good defensively, good on the penalty kill, but you'd like to see him get a few more pucks in the net. His shot's good. He's got some speed.
It'd be nice.
He's tenacious. It's just he just has not had a lot of luck.
Well, and he's also not necessarily playing. He's not being given the responsibility of, hey, go out there and play offensively. Like he's played basically, what did he play, 1 or 2 games in the top 6? Might have been just 1.
2 periods.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. It was a short-lived experiment, and he's been playing with the third line, which is the Dickinson line, which is a defensive first line. He's playing on the penalty kill. He got, in the new lines today, he was on the 4th line. Like, he's not being given an offensive responsibility. It'd be nice if he could chip in 1 or 2. In the first 15 games, that'd be great. But I think, the 20-goal season he had a few years ago, he was producing more, so he was given more responsibility and took advantage of it, but just hasn't been able to really get that, chance to be like, hey, go out there and use your speed offensively. It's, to use it defensively, to use it as a forechecker. He's not being used as an offensive guy. Same reason why Jason Dickinson hasn't really done much offensively is because he's not being played in that role anymore. He scored 20 goals last year. I don't think he's even going to even touch that pace this year.
You need more from him, by the way. Just
it would be nice.
There.
Yeah.
3 shots on goal for Elliot McCabe tonight, by the way. By the way, JD with a good comment, correction to the ad copy. It's up there a little bit. Keep going up. Nope. Keep going. You hadn't lost it. There you go. He says, I disagree that Game Time only has live acts when you can buy Frankie Valli tickets. And if you've seen him lately, you would never accuse him of being alive. All right. That is sad.
That's elder abuse.
That is.
Yeah. That's so bad.
Did he not save any money?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's like, so my dad said, like, my dad's 80, and he goes, well, I only plan to live till I was 65 because that's when my dad died. I'm like, great. Maybe that was Frankie Valli's plan, is I'm going to only live as long as my father lived, and I will not save any pennies beyond that day.
Gosh.
Frankie Valli.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not good.
I've actually read up on this, and there was some claims of like elder abuse with him, but he actually gave some quotes and said, I just want to do this. Like, I just want to keep going on stage.
I can respect that. I mean, Willie Nelson's still putting albums out at 90, but
Yes,
he
he is.
actually...
But he's like actually singing and playing the guitar.
For a few minutes, yeah. And then he says, okay.
Then he just talks,
Then he says, okay, kid, you take it. But it's still, for those 30 minutes he's singing, it's still very good.
Right.
But yeah, hey, listen, I wish I'll be alive when I'm that age and little.
Yeah.
And I wish I'm still doing what I'm loving.
You could put me out here when I'm that age to just say, to have me animatronically say, shoot the puck.
Still wondering if Luke Richardson is the right coach for this team.
The Blackhawks lost the game again. The rebuild is still underway.
If Harvey can do it, you could.
Connor Bedard's been in the Hall of Fame for 30 years.
Connor Bedard's been dead for 20 years. R.I.P.
Thank you, Jay. As you like hold me up with one arm as I'm
Dude,
like,
if I'm still here, it's no. There's no way we're both alive when we're 80.
no, I'll take 80. If they said like, hey, today 80, done. That's it. You could kill me on my 80th birthday. I'll take it.
I'd wait till the day after. I want you to.
Yeah, that's true. I do want to celebrate.
Graves that have the same dates on them are creepy.
Winning teams don't have these discussions.
Sure they do. They talk about all
Oh
kinds
no,
of,
they talk about how tired they are of watching such a boring winning team.
That's true.
yeah, they talk about all kinds of other stuff because they don't have problems to talk about.
Yeah.
Like back in the 2010s.
Yeah, it was boring in the regular season.
When are we going to get that sixth defenseman here? Son of a gun.
Yeah. Ben Pope with a quote from the CHSN postgame show. Luke said losing 40 of 56 faceoffs is, quote, very concerning. Luke says, when you start out without a puck, that's a hard thing. We're chasing the game quite a bit, but we hung in there in the first, and Arvid gave us a great game to give us a chance at the end. That's true. And, like, look, I think generally faceoffs are a little bit overrated, like the importance of them, but when you're only win 20% of your faceoffs,
only winning 16 in an entire game is not good.
that means that every time you lose it, the other team is beginning the possession with the puck.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how this game felt.
I have growing concerns about the center position, not only now, but for the future, because is Frank Nazar a full-time center? I think that's a question that we're going to need to have answered soon. We'll see what Oliver Moore is when he gets here. Sasha Boisvert seems like a guy who could be a full-time center, but again, he's just early on into his college career. Bedard, I don't know if he'll ever be a face-off winning center above.
Can he get to 40?
He's 30% right now. Like
Yeah, that's what he was
That's
tonight,
not
too.
good. Philip Kershaw is not a full-time center. He's just playing there. I don't know if Lucas Reichel's a full-time center. He's playing there on the fourth line, but
No.
so I don't know if their plan, once this team is more fully realized with the young talent that they've brought up, if the plan is like, we'll just get a face-off winning center in free agency or trade for one or something. I don't know. But I can't definitively point at someone that they've drafted that has full-time NHL like projectables and is just like, yep, no doubt full-time center. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
That's why this discussion about, potentially trading for, using some of your draft capital to bring in like a second line center to help this team, I don't completely dismiss. I know they've got a bunch of guys already. I know they've got a pretty full roster. But I don't necessarily hate that idea because when you don't draft for need and you draft best player available, you're going to be heavier in spots and lighter in spots. And right now they're very light at center. Even when Reichel was drafted, it wasn't a certainty he was a center.
Right.
Yeah, he played center in Germany because he was so much better than everybody he played against, but most people projected him as a winger. Oliver Moore projects as a winger. Nazar, I don't know. I think Nazar looked okay at center. Wasn't awful at faceoffs off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But like, I know he's locked up, but this is just the example of the kind of guy that I would look for is like a Casey Middlestat type. Not an A-level player, but a solid B-level player with some versatility. And he's not, a 55% faceoff guy, but high 40s. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's fine. That's acceptable. I don't know. I'm not completely dismissing that idea. I don't know if it can happen now because there's just such a logjam up front.
And so many teams need a Casey Middlestat.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing with the.
But they've got more draft capital than anybody to make it
But
happen.
you never know. A team that's actually trying to compete this year may get a little more desperate and say,
Yeah. Right.
future be damned. Here's our next 2 first-round picks for this second-line center. It's going to help us win the Stanley Cup this year. Where that could be. And you said earlier that face-offs can be a little overrated, and I agree with that. But when you're this bad on a night, you usually lose. Case in point, remember how good the Blackhawks were during the 22-23 season? That was the year they were bad enough.
2022?
22-23 season.
Oh.
Yeah, the year they won the draft lottery.
Yeah.
So they weren't a very good team, right? Didn't win a lot of games. They were 6th in the NHL with a 52.7 face-off percentage that year. Yeah, basically because you had Max Domi out of his mind and Jonathan Taves was winning face-offs.
Right.
But that goes to show you, even when you do win a lot of face-offs, that doesn't necessarily translate to wins and losses. But to Luke's point, you can't have a night where you're 29% because you never have the puck. And the Blackhawks never had the puck in the first 2 periods.
Right.
They had a 25.7 Corsi 4 percentage in the first 2 periods. And if you're not sure what Corsi 4 percentage means, it means they had only 25% of the shot attempts total in the first 2 periods. Yeah. So they were getting tripled on that. They fixed that in the 3rd period with 19-12 and 5-on-5 shot attempts for almost 62%. But again, goes back to what we've been saying. Where is that in the 1st period? Where is that in the 2nd period? Why does it wait to the 3rd period when the team you're playing is probably pulling back a little bit? That has something to do with it. But that's an area that definitely needs to improve for the future. They left that second center line spot open. We talked about that in training camp in the preseason. I think they were hoping that Nazar was going to grab that spot and give them no shadow of a doubt that he needs to be here. But then they made the right decision to send him down. I don't know if they thought, we'll just throw in Andreas Anthony there. He played well at center when we put him there out of desperation.
Yeah,
but that dude can't find his way on the ice. Was it 7 in a row? He's played 2 games all year, 3. Yeah. That's that's not going to happen there. So acquiring a second line center this year, I'm not against that, but it's going to be costly. And I just think there's so many other teams that actually have playoff and Stanley Cup aspirations that want to. I mean, that was our biggest discussion during the Stanley Cup years.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the second line center on this team?
Yep. And it was Brad Richards and Michael Hanzus twice and Sammy Paulson. And they found these dudes. Antoine Vermette was more of a third, but,
Yeah. But, that was the biggest glaring weakness on a team that won 3 Stanley Cups was second line center. They're hard to find.
Yeah. Sean in the chat says Sean Monahan would have been a nice addition. That's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe he's a little older than I would love to go for, but when it's time, like next year, the year after, when it's time to start seriously discussing a playoff berth, someone like Sean Monahan makes a lot of sense. Probably not right now, but when it's time to compete, yeah. Now I'm looking at adding someone younger, someone 27 or younger, if it's out there. But again, under 27-year-old centers don't become available very often.
They get signed to long contracts, like Casey Middlestat, like Dylan Cousins. I know that's a name that a lot of people like to throw out there. Hawks should get Dylan Cousins. Yeah, you're right. They should. Guess what? He just signed a 7-year contract in Buffalo. He's not available. I like what's going on in Ottawa, but if a guy like Shane Pinto, they don't want to give him a big deal after this year, maybe that's a guy you go after.
Yeah, sure.
He fits that mold of younger players at that position. But I doubt Ottawa, who looks like they finally kind of figured things out and might actually be a playoff team this year. I don't see them giving up on a young second-line center.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that the teams that have these guys that are finding success, they don't give them up.
Right.
Like it's
Unless you get a Bowen Byram in return.
right. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Hawks have
guys
they've
like
got
that.
defensemen
Yeah,
movable.
they do, but
I mean, would you? I mean, we're getting very hypothetical here, but whatever. We've done this post-game show 150 times.
yeah. What more do we need to break down?
You know, like, would you talk about trading Wyatt Kaiser for a guy like that?
based on
Now, Wyatt Kaiser is not established. Sorry to interrupt. He has not established himself like Bowen Byram has yet.
Yeah, Bowen Byram, I would say, is still not really established.
He's probably slightly
himself.
overrated too.
Well, he's always hurt. That's his.
But I mean, Kaiser does not yet have the reputation he does. You're not trading Vlasic. That's a cornerstone for
No, because you
15 years.
I mean,
you've already invested in him.
Right.
you're not. Yeah, Kaiser's played great this year, but that's gonna be a guy that might be the guy you have to throw in a trade to get that young center or that other scoring winger because, you're not moving Levshunov.
Nope.
You're not gonna move Korchinski unless it's just one of those deals where you're like, oh my God, we have to make this.
Yeah.
If you put Korchinski up there, you'd expect in return, if you're trying to probably say player for player, you're probably going for a team's second best forward option,
Right.
for your second best defensive prospect. Like I think that would be, the equal player for player as far as looking towards the future.
And you still have Sam Renzel. That's got a huge, very high ceiling right now coming up.
No, he's 6'4".
And you have, he has to have a high ceiling. Him and Will Perdue drive the same car.
Even tall people.
I mean, I'm not like here's where people accuse us of trying to trade Wyatt Kaiser every episode. But
I love Wyatt Kaiser.
No,
If I was buying a Hawks jersey, I'd buy a Wyatt
But
Kaiser
he's
jersey.
the type of guy that
he's been great.
you are going to have to give up if you're going to try and trade for at a position like that.
Someone like Kaiser.
Right.
Yes.
You're one of your really good young defensemen, not your kind of meh young defensemen. You're not going to get as good as Nolan Allen is. You're not getting a second line center for Nolan Allen.
Not yet.
You're not getting a second line center for Ethan Del Mastro.
No.
You'll get one for Wyatt Kaiser, maybe.
Kaiser, Korchinski, Vlasic are the guys that are going to get you
Right.
a return
And
like that. And you're not moving
maybe
Vlasic.
a Sam Renzel one day is in that discussion too, once he gets pro and see what you could do. But on the flip side of that, if you have to trade Wyatt Kaiser, hypothetically, to fill that second line center void for years to come, the pain is taken away because you have Levshunov and Korchinski and Rizal and all these guys in the system. It makes you're dealing from a position of power because yes, trading Wyatt Kaiser is not ideal, but we have guys that can slide right in there and produce at the same level.
I mean, it is not a stretch, and I'm not going to guarantee it, but I would say there's a much higher than 50-50 shot that one of Kaiser, Korchinski, Del Mastro, Renzel, or Allen are traded at some point before they're fully realized because of how many good defensive prospects they have. And if this team is going to be serious about contending in the next year or two, or getting to that point, they're going to have to make a splash trade.
Yes. If you have a lot of one thing that's good and nothing of one thing that you need, then you find someone that is lacking young, good defenseman and has an extra center.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen
it's
around the
natural
league,
fit.
the value of defensemen is almost as high as the value of centers. Like they're especially right shot defensemen, which are at a massive premium these days in the NHL. So I don't think we're there yet, but when you look, as we're kind of like, I don't want to say panicked, but a little bit panicked about, oh my God, where's this going to come from? When the time comes, there will be options. They've also got cap space if they need to go sign one. It's
and it's also to say like the rebuild's not over. So
I mean, your first round pick this year could be a center.
Yeah, give Sasha Boisvert some more time in college to develop. Ryan Green is a guy that's probably going to start playing pro hockey once his season is over from college. Dominic James, Aiden Thompson, like these are guys that are probably all in the mix to jump to the pro game once this season is over in college. So those are guys that, let's see what they got at the next level. And yeah, like you're going to be picking in the top 10 this year. Like, I don't think that's not a question anymore. I don't know. 15 games in, I don't see anything from this team that tells me they're climbing outside of the top 10 of draft picks in the lottery this year. So you're drafting the top 10. I think 8 of the top 10 prospects ranked by elite prospects right now for the 2025 draft class are all forwards, and I think at least half of them are centers, like legitimate centers.
Get them all.
So you're going to get, very likely, you're going to get one of them.
And we still have Jay's all-time favorite prospect, John Mustard.
Well, he's a winger.
Trade him immediately.
Oh, he can play center.
He plays center, wing, defense,
Put that mustard
goalie.
right down the middle of your hot dog.
Some spicy mustard.
All right, we have obtained footage of Luke Richardson postgame.
Nice.
We're going to play this courtesy of your Chicago Blackhawks.
Coach, what did you think of the start tonight?
I thought our first period wasn't that bad. I think it was more they were really good. You have to give them credit. I think they won more than 75% of the face-offs, and they're a fast team. So when we start,
Hello?
No, we can go back to that. I was just saying we should mute ourselves. That's all right. We'll fire it back up in a second. We just got to boost the volume on it a little bit. But already not loving that comment that he did.
Of what we could hear. Yeah.
that the first period wasn't that bad.
Not a great
A
great start.
Oh, it crashed.
Well,
Sweet.
that happens too. All right. Well,
Technology is great,
yeah.
especially when you're live.
So I think, coming back to the game, I think there's obviously there are few times where a coach or a team is going to say, yep, that's a burn the tape game. I think there's still going to be things that this team and Luke Richardson want to pull that were positives from the game. Obviously, Soderblom's performance is going to be one of those, one of those things, and the push at the end is going to be one of those things. And again, it's a lot of things we've heard through the last 15 or through the first 15 games of the season. A lot of things that we've talked about ad nauseum in these post games and pre games. So again, I mean, you got a couple of days off. You got a Sunday evening game at home against the Wild. Like it's a good matchup. It's going to be a tough matchup.
Well, they're good.
You got to jump on them first. I mean, I don't have the stat in front of me, but it seems like in the games that they've scored first this year, they've had the most success. So they have to get out to a fast start. They have to get out to an urgent start against a talented Wild team.
Well, there's one thing that's going to help them on Sunday, besides putting third period down 2-0 to start the game and wearing the road whites. They're also getting the CHGO bump because it's
That's
a takeover.
true.
Yes.
I've
They
lost
usually
track
play
of our
better.
takeover record.
It's
It's positive.
It's better than the home record is right now.
Yeah,
I know
it's
that.
true, yeah.
I know we won 2 out of the 3.
2 out of the first 3. Well, we were 2-0-1 to start.
Right.
And then
2-0-1 last year, right?
I think we only had 2 last
We
year.
only had 2. I thought we had a third.
We had the
Caner.
Calgary one, and then the Kane.
I thought there was one
game.
before
Was there a
that.
third one?
I think there was one before the Detroit
Okay.
game.
The Hawks are 4-1-1 when they score first.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
good.
I think our takeovers we've won at least 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 of them. So
As long as Patrick Kane doesn't show up for the takeover, we'll be fine.
But they still got a point that game.
yes, they did.
They don't lose in regulation very often when CHGO's in the house. That's the point.
Yeah.
So yes.
Should be there more often.
Well, I mean, we're there every night. But I mean, when our diehards.
When it's
So use that Game Time app, diehards, and show up to every game.
100%. All right. While we wait for Luke to render, why don't we do our gimmicks here?
Render.
I know you've got some stuff you're working on, Nate. No worries. We can just verbalize these things if you want. The winner of the 4-star of the game, you guessed it, Arvid Soderblom.
Damn, I voted for Sody.
He stopped 37 of 39 shots, and I think next week when we start to do our non-post-game shows, we start having a discussion about workload time and maybe giving a few more to Soderblom because he's been awesome. And now it's becoming a trend, and he did it against a great team. Like, there's no more saying like, oh, you know, first couple games, small sample size. He's been absolutely outstanding. I'm giving him more starts.
Yeah, the wild card in that scenario is what's going on with Laurent Brossoit.
Yeah,
but we have all week to talk about that.
And when we go back Monday, it'll be same timeline.
Yeah, no update. We'll see. That's getting weird. It's getting weird. What's going on with them?
They should just stop giving out timelines because they never stick to them.
Yeah, go back to.
Well, I mean, his reason was correct. I mean, it was, you know, it's with goalies, you want to make sure it's harder to project because goalies got to pop up and down all the time. So
Sure,
an injury for a skater is different from an injury from a goalie, but that's sort of become a trend too. And that, like, what's going on with the injuries here?
Yeah. Are we sending Brossoit to Rockford for a conditioning stint?
I wouldn't hate that idea at all.
I'm again. We'll get more answers. Next week and figure things out from there. But it's that this is now for me. This is now less of a cut and dry. Like, yeah, once Brossoit is healthy, kick Soderblom down. Like, maybe he's played his way into being like, yeah, no, he's the backup right now. Go down to Rockford, Laurent, and get some conditioning games and then see where you're at. I don't know. I'm sure he has to go through waivers and all that and whatnot, but we'll see.
Yeah. Let's do Who's Your Hawk now. Greg?
Sure.
Your spreadsheet is open.
Ooh, careful. I'm just going to put the chain on before I drop it. Not another great night for the scores. It was a hits night. We all got points
We'll
for
take 'em.
hits.
NHL hits.
Connor Bedard got me the victory at 4.5 thanks to his 3 hits. Ryan Donato had 4 points with that. A lot of that was because of the secondary assist. He only had 1 hit. That's why he didn't win. And Seth Jones finished up with 3 points. He had 7 hits tonight. So 3.5.
Physical.
If he wasn't on the ice for that
Empty
empty
netter.
netter, it would have put you and your 7 hits over the top.
Yeah, well, he's got to be out there because he's one of the best defensemen that they got.
I will take it. Not the big win I needed to really make a dent, but a half point. If I
Got
gain,
chip away, baby.
if I gain a half a point
long
tonight,
season.
I will be in first place by Valentine's Day.
All right. Way to go. You're on your first win is a
Moral
sort of a
victories.
streak.
The Blackhawks won't accept moral victories. I do.
Absolutely. All right, let's hear from Luke Richardson. This is about 2 minutes, then we'll wrap things up.
Coach, what did you think of the start tonight?
You know, I thought our first period wasn't that bad. I think it was more they were really good. You have to give them credit. I think they won more than 75% of the face-offs, and they're a fast team. So when we start out without the puck, I think that's a hard thing. We're chasing the game quite a bit. But I thought we hung in there in the first, and Arvid, our goaltender, gave us a great game to give us a chance at the end with a couple good chances with the goalie out. But it was very much the same as the outcome as last time we were here a week ago or so.
What do you make when your team only has 5 shots on goal about halfway through the game?
Yeah, we had probably some chances that didn't get counted as a shot, but it definitely was lopsided, and they came out strong. Like, they're a good team, skated well, and we knew that they probably wouldn't be happy coming home from Europe with a couple losses. But you know, we're not happy with our last game as well. So I thought our desperation really showed in the third. But you know, we got to try and get that a little bit desperation a little bit before that. And but you know what, the shot count, sometimes it's not as indicative as some of the other stats. To me, like, the face-offs are very concerning because a team like ours is always behind the 8 ball if we have to be chasing it all the time.
And are there any positives that you can take knowing that you guys kept it really close when you finally did get to your game there in the third?
Yeah, I think coaches are always going to find that, but I think our team, you know, what I really like about the character of our team, the players, meaning that they're not taking any moral victories anymore. We're taking a step past that this year, and we're not happy, and we're just going to take this and put this intensity that we had in the third period and bring it to the next game. And I've liked our character and our pushback after a game like this all year long. So I'm expecting that again from our players.
Luke Richardson, courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, we're going to wrap things up. We are back Sunday post-game, but just know our post-game show is going to be a little bit delayed. Why? Because we've got our takeover against the Wild. If you have tickets and you're a diehard, don't forget the pregame meetup at Fifth Third for the tour and the buffet and the skating and all that jazz is at 3:30. So meet us at Fifth Third Arena at 3:30. We can walk over to the game. You could park at the UC, walk over to Fifth Third, then back. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend parking south of the United Center. That'll be the easier access to Fifth Third Arena. And hey, if you want to join us next time at one of our takeovers, become a diehard. Go to allchgo.com. You'll save 20% of the event. You don't have to be a diehard to attend, but you save a ton of money when you become one. It's kind of a no-brainer. So allchgo.com is the site. Navigate over to that diehard tab, and you'll see very easily how to join. You'll also get a free shirt or hat upon sign-up and access to all of our great written content, access to our Discord, 20% off all events and merch and everything. It's just a great deal, and it really helps keep us going. So please, please, please consider becoming a diehard today. And if that you can't do that, it's really easy to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast app, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'll talk to you Sunday after Hawks and Wild on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
Hey, Nate.